Career lessons learned from my family. 1955.
Oh.
Don't be afraid to take a well-considered risk. Is my arrow? Okay, that's good. Dad came out of Harvard University. As a side note, the way Mom described Harvard in her book is hilarious. She says, apparently it's a little bit of a trick to get into Harvard, but once you're in, it's sort of like an employment bureau. You can find probably a pretty decent job. Those are her exact, or very close to her.
A bit of a trick to get in.
It's kind of a trick to get in.
She's
So,
got
Dad,
kind of an upscale placement bureau.
my story to the students was that Dad comes out with a Harvard MBA, which means you can write your ticket to any great big company of 1955 that you want. And he, I think, somewhat worried his dad by saying, I'm going with a small startup in California that you've never heard of. And wasn't HDT Senior just a little bit like, what are you doing? At least that's how I told the story.
A little bit like what?
A little bit concerned, like, why aren't you going to General Electric or, some...
Yeah. I think
Unilever.
So. And when I
Del
was
Monte.
getting out of Harvard, there were two factors. One is that I did not want to live in the East any longer.
Yeah.
And that if we could be somewhere west of Denver, we'd be within striking distance of all of our families.
Yeah.
So that was a big factor. The second thing was I didn't want to work for a big company that was going to make me go through a training program for 2 years traveling all over the world.
Yeah. So he goes to a small startup with a small number of employees in one little building, and it turns out to be Hewlett Packard, which turns into a pretty big deal.
A small little company.
Yeah.
It turned out okay.
So to
Still
the
sporting a
students,
stylish ducktail from
to the
1954.
students, I say, don't be afraid to take a chance on something that
Take a chance.
seems a little.
Take a chance.
The next story was about my oldest brother, by the name of Dixon.
Let's start with this loser right here.
This is a very short lesson.
We can only go.
The lesson here is sometimes you just know. I said, Dix, you can correct me. I said this kid knew from about age 6 that he wanted to be a dentist. A dentist.
Hermie.
And it never really changed, and he continued on that journey without any tell me if I'm wrong, without any really big vacillations or
Nothing too crazy. That is true, and you're right. Even as a Boy Scout, during the little career path things,
Yeah.
he did hang out with us in his brand new Porsche,
yeah.
which helped to grease the idea.
And you just carried on, and I said went on beyond that for an orthodontist degree, and has been very successful ever since. So some of you, maybe 5% of you in this audience will just know, and you can just go with that. Sometimes you know.
If you know what nitrous oxide is, you might be interested in dental work.
Little lesson about child number 2,
Oh,
Tommy. Don't be afraid to make a change.
Because sometimes your trousers are soiled.
Follow your passion. And then because it was a large Korean audience, I had to slip in. As a side note, this guy also served in Korea.
How do we say Korea in Korea?
Hanguk.
Hanguk.
Hanguk is the simple one, or Taehan Minguk is the polite one.
Hanguk.
Yeah, Hanguk. And so Tommy had a successful, I called it 10-year career at Hewlett Packard, and he was doing just fine, but he was not very happy with it. And he had a real passion for kind of creative real estate, finding the impossible project and imagineering it into something
And Brian made it.
amazing.
A cameo.
Brian made a cameo. And I talked longer, but I said, he's really taken these crazy, almost impossible projects and turned them into really innovative things and very financially successful things. And he left Hewlett Packard at a time where a lot of common sense people maybe would have said, don't leave a big
He
company.
was Hermie when Hermie was sidetracked as a toy maker, knowing he needed to be a dentist.
That took me into the top. Do you guys know the top diagram?
I do
Talent, opportunity, and passion, top. And we talked about how this is important to analyze in yourself, that if you've got talent and passion, but the world is not there's not an opportunity. I mean, the world is not asking for the skill that you offer. What do you call that space?
That's a
Call it frustration. Oh,
It's a hobby.
Could be a hobby, could be frustration. If you've got the talent and the world wants what you're talented in, but you have no passion for it, what is the word for that?
slavery, drudgery.
Cursed.
Burnout.
All those are correct, and burnout's another
Yeah, that
one.
sounds like me.
That was the last year of my life at General Mills.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. To a T.
If
Suits
you've
me to a
got
T.
passion and the world wants what you're passionate about, but you have no skill or talent in
got no
it.
skills.
What is that called?
Unemployed.
The positive spin is a developmental opportunity. The negative spin
Feedback
is
needed.
you're a total misfit and you better get some feedback and
The
move
feedback
on.
is that, son, you're not talented here.
And what's that one? That's called the sweet spot.
Yep.
With a Korean emoji.
Tom got some very important advice on that store. He had a passion for being a bookbinder. And he set out, he worked in the library.
That's a hobby.
He restored books. He
That's-
had an opportunity and a passion, but his boss said, "You really don't have the talent for this work.
Well,
you should find something else."
What I was
it was
pa-
about the talent.
what I was
I thought it was
passionate
about the world didn't need the skill.
well,
That's
what I was
thought, too.
passionate about was doing more creative things, and the skill that there was an opportunity for is nothing creative.
Okay.
You need to go in and go out
And be a technician.
and look like you've never been there.
Yeah.
Who is that little bear?
That is Ryan the Lion from Kakao Talk.
Okay, of
He's
course.
he is the most popular cartoon character in all of Korea.
Cacao Talk. Is that chocolate talk?
That is their text
Yeah,
vehicle.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next story is about yours truly. When you feel lost, don't give up. At Mom and Dad's advice, I went to BYU to be a computer science major. Mom and Dad said, "Hey, that's the wave of the future. You got to get in on it." I tried it and it did not work. It was strike one.
Yeah.
Dad said, "Well, that's okay. Then in that case, try electrical engineering." And I went and tried that for a semester. Strike two. Dad said, "That's okay. Then, if that doesn't feel good, try finance." And I went and tried that. It was strike three.
You're out.
I was starting to feel like a failure. I stumbled into a organizational behavior class and just the heavens opened up. So my message to the kids was,
You found your bliss.
and there were a lot of kids in the audience who said, I've been changing majors. So I said, don't give up, just keep
Just
looking.
because you're lost doesn't mean your compass is broken.
Yeah. And that led to a beautiful career with General Mills. Oh, and then I gave a little lecture about how marriage helps because kids don't get married that much at BYU anymore. And so I just said, your world and your parents, and especially Korean parents, will tell you that you can't get married until you've graduated, got a job, saved up $100,000. And I said, in reality, marriage can help you to be a better student.
Achieve all those
And I
things.
told the story about how Anne literally helped me get through calculus, or I never would have made it to the MBA program. So, and that was a good message for them. Then we talked about Otis Bell!
Odiapolis.
And the message was embrace technology and lifelong learning. I think there's one more. And
So just saying, why am I here?
What am I doing?
Oh, this is a video.
the second,
Yeah.
that's a screenshot of your video.
Yeah.
He looks very pensive here, though.
But I mean, my messages were, this is a guy who really embraced technology and as a result made a great career out of it. And also, unlike people who stay at General Mills forever or stay at Hewlett Packard forever, meaning Dad, you can build a great career by moving around and going to where the action is and so forth. So those were my Otis Bell messages.
Multiple moves.
Lots 5 and 6. I like that.
Cyril T. Proudbottom. I thought, how do I spin? I was
How
going
do
to
I
say,
spin-
I was going to say,
How do I spin this can?
you can make a great career out of just laying on the couch and watching movies. I decided not to go with that message. I
Create a
went
new
to,
myth.
it's not all about grades and test scores. Just believe in yourself. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You did not have a high GPA. Or
I finally graduated 3.5.
oh, did you? Okay. Well,
But that didn't fit the
I
narrative,
told
so
it
let's
didn't fit
move
the
on.
narrative. Exactly. The narrative was this guy really had a
I did get
Not
kicked
so
out.
great
I did
GPA.
get kicked out
Yeah,
academically.
you do have to say, Brigham, there was a time when your GPA slipped.
That's for sure.
And I told about how
Little Livy.
that led to a temporary stint in UPS. It was maybe a part of that.
Did you do UPS?
But-
I didn't
No, but I did get an offer.
Oh.
That's where he got that part of
It's
the
more
story.
important for the narrative
Yeah.
that we go with the UPS.
Yeah.
What was what did I miss? Just
So
for
yeah, I
future.
never actually took the job at UPS because by the time they offered it, the
Oh.
great indignity was that I did not get a job at UPS when I thought I would as a
Oh.
stopgap.
I thought you
job.
actually drove the
Here's,
Brown.
here's the truth. What I drove around in was a fertilizer truck in Provo.
It's 10 to 5.
Here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
So-
then the UPS offer came the same day I got an offer from Disney.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I kind of harken back to don't be afraid to take a risk because you left a full-time job, or maybe not.
I left a fertilizing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I bragged a little bit
The
about
truth is all coming
His
out
tail's
now.
falling apart.
Yeah.
But,
Like, when I presented it,
Yeah.
regardless of your truth,
Yeah.
I told a great story.
Yeah. I have
And
no
it
doubt.
ended up with Johnny Depp and
Yeah.
with great movies and an Oscar.
Right.
Blah blah blah. It's a very cool story.
Yep.
With the sisters, I said they're
yeah,
all
these
smarter
two.
than their brothers,
Yeah.
but they made a choice to put the family first for a season of child raising, and sacrifices were made, but the rewards for their kids were even greater. And then after, when kids were kind of getting launched into school at different times, they became things like math teachers and flight attendants and interior design consultants. And I said, remembering about your family is important. That's where I stopped. There was another story about Tim, but that was sort of the time to wrap up.
This is ultimately a story
And we
about
need
America.
To go to dinner.
And we need to go. End of story.
Nice.
Yay.